Alright guys, so it's a few days later and the exhaust is finally in. So I already made a video on unboxing this, already took some measurements just to see what the differences were with the stock exhaust, and now we're getting ready to put it on the car. First thing before I get started is I'm going to have to take the hangers off the car and put them on the muffler while the muffler's off the vehicle. That's going to be a little bit easier to do, that way I just got a little more wiggle room. And then after that, there's a couple of small modifications to some of the heat shielding that I need to do that's inside the instructions for the exhaust, and then we can start putting parts on. So let's get to it. Alright, so we're going to get these hangers on real quick. And before installing the exhaust, obviously you'll want to remove the stock system, so if you guys want any more information on that, I'll leave a link to my uninstall video in the description below. And notice that I've gone ahead and fit the gaskets loosely on the exhaust as well, just to make sure that they're in the right place when I go to install it in the car. Now before you install the exhaust, you'll also need to install a piece of heat shielding on the fuel line, which Fast Intentions provides for you. I'll show you that in a second. But essentially you just need to take this piece of heat shielding and zip tie it to the fuel line. Fast Intentions has pretty much thought of everything. They even provide a little bit of heat shielding here for the fuel line on the evap system. Since the new muffler is going to run near it, there might be some heat coming off it, so you want to make sure you protect that. So Fast Intentions has already provided that for you. And then here they say that we just need to kind of bend the heat shield back a little bit. Try and make room for the muffler or something like that. Hopefully that'll give it enough clearance. If not, then might need to cut off a section. So here we are under the passenger side. We're getting ready to install that test pipe. We're going to go ahead and put in the two bolts that were supplied by Fast Intentions, so that way we can hold the gasket on. Alright, that's the two bolts put on the gaskets. Now we can put the test pipe on. And that's how the bolts tighten down for the passenger side for the test pipes. To get to the bolt up behind here, you kind of just have to work your one ratchet up behind here so you can grab onto the bolt head. And then on the other side, to get to this top bolt, I ended up just using a universal joint and a long extension to be able to get up in there from this side with another ratchet, and I was able to tighten that side on. And now we're going to move over and do the driver's side real quick. So yeah, tighten those three bolts, and only make sure they're hand tight. Don't tighten them all the way yet. You want to make sure the exhaust has some wiggle room. But once you have the passenger side and the driver's side both bolted on, the next thing you're going to need to do is we're going to need to reinstall those O2 sensors. You just take the old sensor from the factory catalytic converters, and you're just going to plug them into Fast Intentions extended bung here. Alright, so I've skipped a couple steps with you guys, but I've got the O2 sensors now reinstalled and plugged back in, so those are all set. I've also installed a couple more bits of the exhaust here. I've just got these little S-pipes, I guess you can call them, put in place already. Now I'm getting ready to do the X-pipe. This piece is a little bit heavier, but Fast Intentions recommends putting this on next. So once it's on, we have to try and support it with a jack or something. So I got a jack over there, I don't think you guys can see it. But we're going to use the jack to hold this up. Once we have this piece installed, then we can put the mufflers on. Alright, so I've got that X-pipe in. This joint here is going to be a little tricky to do because you need to make sure that you get these S-bend pipes just right. Basically, you want to make sure you keep all the bolts loose initially when you're getting everything fitted together. That way you can maneuver it into place fairly easily and then tighten them later. Also, it's very important that you use a jack to support this piece of X-pipe because these resonators are kind of heavy, and you don't want all of that force kind of coming down on the test pipes and everything in the back of the exhaust, since all the hangers are towards the rear of the car. So make sure you give it some support in the middle. So now we're going to get the mufflers on, and then that should pretty much complete the install. Alright, so all of the hangers have been placed back on the muffler piece here. So these should be pretty easy to go in now. So we're going to start off with the driver's side first, and then we'll get to the passenger. Now in this clip you'll see me installing the hangers first on the driver's side, but I found when I went to do the passenger side that it's actually easier to put a couple bolts to connect the muffler to the X-pipe just to hold it in place. So that way when you go to lift the muffler to put it on the hangers, it's a little bit easier. You don't have to hold the muffler at an awkward angle. So I'd probably recommend doing this in the reverse order that I'm showing here. And then of course, once everything is put loosely in place, you should also go ahead and tighten everything down. Alright, so that's everything fit on loosely here. The tips are looking really nice. I like them much better than stock. Yeah, as I said, everything's just kind of hand tightened right now. So now I'm just going to get under the car and make sure that everything's completely tightened. I'll start from the back and work my way forward. All I need to do now is just start from the test pipes again, working my way back, just make sure everything's tightened. I'll check the fitment of the exhaust tips once I get to the rear, and we'll put any shims in if we need to. Yes, the last thing you want to do here is just kind of check the fitment of your exhaust tips just to make sure that everything looks even. You can see here on both sides that the exhaust tips are about the same height below the bumper. If they look a little high or a little low to you, you can always add shims using some washers. You can actually see that I had to sort of do that here. You can see that I put about 2 or 3 washers in there just to lower this passenger side down. But anyways, that's it for me on this install. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments on how this works, or if you want to know how to remove the stock exhaust, I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. But anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next video.